Well, it's a double-edged sword for the market today. Not to say that the market is not already digested some of what the exit polls were already indicating. But Urjit Patel's resignation, the 5-state election outcome, we've got lots on our plate. Supriya Srinath joins in to talk about exactly that. And Supriya, I don't know what the market is going to react to first. Fortunately, the exit poll reaction is already done and in the price. But really, tell me, once the counting begins, which it already has, do you really think it's going to be such a neck-and-neck fight? And is it really the anti-incumbency wave that we'll see play out once the election outcome is out?
No, so first up, what are we picking up from early trends? It's almost 40 minutes into counting. It begins at 8, and Rajasthan looks like a complete sweep as far as the Congress party is concerned. The last count that I see now on the screens of channels is 44 to 19. So Rajasthan looks like a complete sweep, but that was a long expected line, and that's what exit polls threw up as well. I think the lead of the margin of victory is going to be far bigger in Rajasthan than what the exit polls have said. Madhya Pradesh is turning out to be, a bit of a conundrum there. The exit polls had suggested it's going to be neck and neck, and it couldn't be more neck and neck than this. What we are really seeing right now is 26 and 24. So 26 for the BJP, 24 for the Congress. But remember, to get to the halfway mark in Madhya Pradesh for 230 assembly, 115 seats will be required. And if either of the two parties fall short, it will be advantage anti-BJP bloc, because BSP and SP will all, I'm presuming, veer towards an anti-BJP bloc to form the next government. Chhattisgarh, and that is coming out to be a huge surprise. The last numbers that I saw on the screen, it's 5 for the BJP and 17 for the Congress. So that's the Hindi heartland story for you. And it's an important story to tell our viewers, because Hindi heartland, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, the 3 assembly states that went into elections, it's not just the verdict there. These 3 assemblies together constitute 65 of Lok Sabha seats, and 62 of the 65 Lok Sabha seats in the present Lok Sabha is with the BJP. I wonder how the dynamic is going to change in 2019, because that will decide what really happens. As far as elections, these state assembly elections are concerned, the reality is that they are a larger queue for what happens in 2019. If I were, a BJP sympathizer, I would say the BJP is on the back foot. If I look at it from the point of being a Congress sympathizer, I would believe there is some reason to cheer about, because these elections are telling us there is an anti-incumbency in the Hindi heartland for sure. What it is also telling us that votes don't happen just for the state or just for centre, and this will perhaps give the BJP some reasons to worry. Remember, 1/6 of the Lok Sabha has gone to elections with these 5 assembly states. 65 of those, 65 of those Lok Sabha seats are with these 3 states alone, and that is why I think markets will not take to this too kindly. When exit polls come, we sometimes become dismissive and say, let's wait for the real numbers, let's wait for the real results. The real results are giving us a very stark picture. I'm very surprised with Chhattisgarh numbers, because that is where the BSP and Ajit Jogi got into an alliance. They were supposed to have a vote share of 6.3%. That would have been upsetting for the anti-BJP bloc, but it looks like it's going to be, some sort of a disappointment there for the Saffron Brigade as well. But and Telangana, obviously, it seems is going the TRS way. The bluff, if I may, completely paid off. He advanced elections, rode on a popularity wave, was supported by the MIM. I mean, I think that number is perhaps very telling, and we'll go with Telangana. It also gives you a sense how South is completely elusive of the BJP right now. The bastions are going to be the North, and if they can't break into the South, which I doubt they will, where will the seats in 2019 come from? And I think that's the question that markets will ask for. I'm given to understand Smita Gupta, a very senior political observer with us, and if I can quickly go across to her and take a quick question. The early leads in Rajasthan seem to be suggesting it's going to be a sweep for the Congress. Madhya Pradesh is too neck and neck to call it an election, and obviously we're just about an hour into, not even an hour into counting. Chhattisgarh is the big joker in the pack, if I may, because it looks like the Congress is going to gain there, and despite that Ajit Jogi Mayawati alliance, TRS, I think, predictably is going with KCR. What is your quick take on these numbers, and how important will these be from a market point of view? Because markets will want to see the winnability quotient of the BJP, vis-a-vis the opposition bloc as far as 2019 is concerned. Smita.
Well, first I'd like to take up Chhattisgarh, which, as you said, is the joker in the pack. If the early wisdom was that Ajit Jogi and the BSP would cut into the anti-incumbency vote and help the BJP. The fact that the early trends are showing that it is not happening, it means that the people have decided that they want to vote the BJP out, and they have done tactical voting. They don't want to waste their votes on a combination that is unlikely to come to power. So that is a very, very interesting reflector of public mood. Rajasthan, as you said, is a sweep. Madhya Pradesh, it's neck and neck. I think these elections will have a huge impact on the 2019 Lok Sabha polls, because in a sense, as you pointed out, 3 of them are Hindi heartland states. The BJP held 62 out of 65 of these states, of these seats. Now, any losses in this, and when we combine this with UP and Bihar, the BJP is anticipating a loss of about almost 100 seats, most of which the losses will be felt in the Hindi heartland. They will not be able to compensate for it by any possible successes in the Northeast, which has 25 seats in all, of which the BJP already holds 16, you know. So this is a very worrying trend for the BJP. For the Congress party, if these trends hold and they can win Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh and have a respectable performance in Madhya Pradesh, it will be a big boost. It will be also improve their negotiating skills with their own alliance partners, particularly in Uttar Pradesh. As you have seen that yesterday when they had the opposition
Smita, if I may take a quick
opposition meeting ahead of Parliament.
If I may take a quick question there. Okay. Yes. Smita Gupta, if I may take a quick question there. I get the anti-opposition dynamic. I get that bloc coming together. If I may take a quick question there. When you say it is going to be disappointing for the BJP, our viewers really care about what will this mean for decision making? What is this going to mean for the legislative agenda? My own sense is that, you know, a performance like this, or at least what the early numbers are telling us, combine that with, you know, too many things happening outside of politics, which is Rafale, which is perhaps Christian Michel, which is Vijay Mallya, all of that put together is going to lead to a legislative logjam. Do we expect the functioning of Parliament to happen? Do we expect decision making to happen? Or will this be really a government that's going to do executive decision making from here on up until the elections?
I think you're right. I think it'd be very difficult to get any legislative work done, and whatever will happen, as you said, through executive decision making, of which perhaps one of the most significant is the Ram Temple issue, because the Supreme Court has postponed its hearing to January. There is talk of the government bringing in an ordinance. There is a former RSS ideologue who was made a Rajya Sabha MP, Rakesh Sinha. He is going to bring in a private member's bill on the construction of the temple in this session. So I think as earlier in this bulletin, there was talk about Urjit Patel's surprise resignation. The fact is that all the attacks on the various institutions that have happened, whether it's the CBI, whether it's the RBI, all this is is negative publicity for the BJP. On top of that, if they don't perform in the way that they thought they would in these elections, they will have to distract attention away from the economy, from rural distress, from poor performance in elections.
Fair point. Smita Gupta. Smita Gupta, a quick question, and before I let you go, this is the last question that I have for you this morning. And the question has to be that these are, after all, state assembly elections. There are people who will turn around and tell you these are state assembly elections. This is the vote against anti-incumbency, perhaps in Rajasthan, in Chhattisgarh, in Madhya Pradesh, and should we be reading a lot? Do you believe it's prudent for us to extrapolate what's really happening in the Hindi heartland, or what's really happening in parts of TRS and other parts of the country, and really juxtapose this on what will the picture be in 2019? Is it fair to say that? Because I think eventually the markets will worry about what happens to the 62 out of the 65, and which is why the question. Do you believe it's fair to extrapolate?
I believe it is fair to extrapolate in the case of the 3 Hindi heartland states simply because in the last 3 assembly elections that took place just before these, in these 3 states, that's 2013, 2008, 2003, the party that performed well won the states. These 3 states went on to win a corresponding number of seats in the Lok Sabha. So for these 3 states, definitely. But the other point that you made, if you recall, there was talk of holding simultaneous polls. There was talk that the BJP was contemplating somehow pushing these 3 elections and holding them along with the Lok Sabha. Eventually, the decision taken was not to hold them because the BJP felt that perhaps people would exhibit their anger now, and when it came the time came for the Lok Sabha elections, that anger would be spent and then people would vote for the BJP and Mr. Narendra Modi. I think we'll have to wait till May next year. But if past trends are any indication,
no, absolutely,
these election results will hold till 2019.
Okay, these election results will hold till 2019 is what we're being given to understand by our political experts. Remember here, and before I toss it back to the studios, I think one more point to ponder over, and thanks very much, Smita Gupta, for joining us early this morning on election results. Nikunj, Aisha, Tanveer, I think the big point to ponder over also is what were the substantive issues in these elections? And I don't remember development and jobs and growth and such things being talked about. This was a very vile election campaign. This was an election campaign on both ends of the political spectrum that really got down to, if I may say, there was a communal rant, there was polarization, there was who's a better Hindu, the Gotra politics and all of that. And it seems to tell me at least, and it seems to tell some of the experts that we've been speaking to, that this is a rejection by the Hindi heartland of issues like that. People want jobs, people want growth, people want social equity. These things are not resonating on the ground. And I think both sides of the political spectrum, both the Congress and the BJP, have something to think of this as they go into elections 2019. It's an agenda that they will have to set for India, and that agenda is not Ram Mandir. That agenda doesn't seem to be your caste. That agenda doesn't seem to be your Gotra right now. Because if this were the case, the Hindi heartland would have voted differently.
Absolutely, Supriya, and that's the very reason, people vote for government, to take care of jobs, growth and well-being. And clearly, this is getting challenged, and hence the verdict can be seen on the screen at this point of time. Though in next 1 hour, a lot of things would be clear that where exactly we are heading when it comes to political scenario.